Hi again, and welcome to our Hints and Tips series, where we try to give you a bit of an insight into the HubSpot technology. If it's got a fault, HubSpot, and I'm sure there are others, but from the purpose of these sorts of conversations is that it's now so big and powerful, it's actually quite a complex beast. So what we're trying to achieve in these little videos is to bite off little chunks of what HubSpot are about and try and explain it piece by piece so that you get a better idea of how to fit the whole thing together. So today we're going to be looking at the contact record itself. We start as usual with the marketing dashboard, which I've got set as my default view for the default view for when I land on HubSpot. And at the top here, you can see, if I just move that out of the way so I can see, you can see the menu options that allow you to actually control HubSpot itself. Now, eventually, we'll go through each of these options and show you what each of them means. Today, I want to focus on the Contacts tab. So if I click on Contacts here, I see Contacts itself as a heading, I see Companies as a heading, I see Target Accounts, which is a specific feature of my setup, I see Activity Feed, and I see Lists. So this is really where I control the contacts in the database and companies, indeed, and how I work them. So to give you a little run through each of these views so that we can see what it's all about. Now, obviously, within our contact view, we don't have any actual real data for anybody to see, because that would be a breach of data protection regulations. So we've got this kind of made up data. So normally you'd see a lot of names and email addresses on this view, depending on how many contacts you've got in there. But for the purposes of this, as I say, we've got this made up data that we can safely share. If I click on the actual name of the record itself, it takes me into the contact record. So this is where you do your work, if you like. If you're using HubSpot to market or to sell, or indeed as a service tool, you'll probably work from within this view. And what you can see on the left-hand side is the information regarding the contact that we've stored in the database, so first name and last name, the email address, but also you can see the sorts of fields that we have that you're able to fill if you'd like, and if you have the patience and you've got the inclination to fill that data in. If you look at the overall properties here quickly for a second, you can see there's actually an awful lot of things that we can capture data on any one different customer, including things like date of birth, when we last met them, potentially the number of days it took us to close the deal, whether they have an email subscription, even a fax number, and on here somewhere I think is the favorite flavor of cake. So there's an awful lot of information that we can store. Not everybody uses all of that information, I think it's fair to say, but it's there. And the more complex your business model, the bigger your business, obviously the more of it you can use. You can also customize the way you see the data on that first screen here by adding or taking things away and ordering them into a different order if that suits you. But let's go back to Brian's view for a second. Underneath the contact information, we have any website activity that anytime Brian spent on your website or on my website, none, unsurprisingly, and the amount of pages that he's visited. And here you'll also see the GDPR subscriptions. If you've got GDPR switched on in your back end, and I'll show you how to do that in a different video, you'll be able to select the subscriptions and the lawful basis for processing here. On this side, we can add a company, or if it's done automatically when you enter the record, the company will show here. So the company that Brian works for. Let's see if we have HubSpot stored in this record. We may not. No, we don't actually have HubSpot stored as a company. If we did have it stored there, we could manually add it. We can also see what deals Brian is part of. We can see what tickets Brian has got outstanding, and the attachments that we've added to Brian in terms of, could be a contract, could be a receipt or anything. The lists that he's members of, I'll show you lists in a second. Any workflows, so any automations that we've got Brian set up to do. Any playbooks and the Sales Navigator integration and so on. And then in the middle, we've got a list of all of the activities that we've ever undertaken with Brian. You can see here when the contact was created, you can see the life cycle was changed, a call was made, a meeting was held, and a task was assigned, which is now overdue, and emails were sent. And you can see within the email view what email, when they've been opened, how many times they've been opened, and so on and so on. In fact, everything over here will get stored within this contact record. So you can make a note on Brian and what he's like to deal with. You can send him an email directly from HubSpot. That email will be based on your current email client and will integrate straight into the system. You can log a call or even make a call by adding your voice over internet, telephone, or your mobile phone. In fact, you can log any other activity, tasks, or meetings, and they'll all appear in this one source of truth for the contact record. So everything you need to know about that client is held in here. Now, you can also connect various different internet web applications to this. So you can be pulling information out of Facebook, for instance, even out of WhatsApp. And if you have an e-commerce integration or something along those lines, you can also update this contact record with things like purchases, average order values, and that sort of stuff. This is where all of the contacts within your system live, and this is where you're able to see them and see the activities that they've undertaken with your business. So to quickly show you then, the companies list will be the same, but obviously just for the companies that we have within our database, as we saw earlier, we don't actually have any yet in this data set. And under target accounts will be targets that we've identified in our database. So these are companies that we really, really want to look at. So you may pick 10 or even 20 that you're effectively going to spend a lot of time focusing on target accounts, as we call them. And you then have your activity feed, which is basically yeah, I was going to say, you're not going to see it here, but once we've connected our emails, it'll show us what emails have come in, what replies have been made, what replies have been sent by the client, and so on. So it's just one place to see everything that's going on. And then you've got your lists. So lists are really powerful, and it's the way HubSpot manages all of its automation. So we can build a list here by adding people in, either on an active basis or a static basis. An active list is a list that updates when contact leads change, and a static list is a list that you just create from scratch. So it could have 5 people in it, it could have 500 people in it. And then when you're using some of the other services up here, particularly automation, you might use a list of contacts or a segmented list, if you like, to undertake some of your marketing activities. So that's it. I hope it makes sense. I hope it didn't go too fast. I'd love a bit of feedback on this sort of stuff. Let me know what else you need to know. Let me know whether you could understand what I'm talking about, whether I need to go faster or slower or what. It'd be great to hear what you think. Thanks very much for your time, and I'll speak to you again with another one of these videos very soon. Bye-bye.